canceling them. I cancel no one.
That's the thing. It's people are acting like Utica's canceled. No one said
Yeah,
Utica's
she's not
canceled.
canceled.
We're just saying she made fat jokes and she shouldn't have. No one's being like, we're canceling Utica because she insulted overweight people. No.
Welcome to Too Much.
Our podcast about, well, whatever.
From issues of the world to topics of lesser grandeur. We've got you covered with a little bit too much to say about everything.
So let's start the show.
I'll be your private dancer for a veggie burger and a Sprite. Michael.
And I am the pole Little Nas X slides down in the Call Me By Your Name video, but you can call me Cody.
Yes! You're that pole. Damn, you're long. Connecting both worlds or realms or whatever people call heaven and hell. I don't think those exist, right. By the way. Do you believe there's a heaven and a hell?
I don't know. I think so. I don't know. I think there's something that happens with us after we die.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of religions out there. I grew up in kinda sorta a religious household. I wouldn't say it was super religious. I was asked to go to church many Sundays as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Did I always go? No, I did not.
Mm-hmm.
But mainly because my mom worked on a Sunday, and it was always like left. It was like, okay, you should go to church when I'm at work. And I'll be like, yeah, bye, have a great day at work. And then I'll go watch cartoons.
Oh, wow.
And then I would go see my friends up the street, and I'd have to walk past the church because I live literally next door to the church. I'd have to walk past the church and past my pastor's house because his house was beside the church.
Mm-hmm.
And he'd see me walking, he'd call me over and be like, "You didn't come to church today. What's going on?" And I'd be like, "Yeah," and I make up some shitty excuse. And he's like, "You should come next week."
Wow, so just skipping church all the time.
I've always had an issue with some of the things that religion preached about. And that was like my childhood. But when it came to high school, I went to a very religious high school. It's a private school owned by the church and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And they were just too much. They were doing the most. And when I would ask questions, they would think I'm being rude because I really want to know, why do you say this? Why do you believe this? Why do you practice this? And where in the Bible supports that? And they would be telling me what the Bible says, but I'm like, that doesn't really mean what you're doing, though.
Right.
I'm like, you don't want to eat shellfish, this, that, and the third, but yet you do something else that contradicts what the Bible says. So where's the line here?
Yeah, the Bible says a lot of stuff. And
so the pastor at the school, because we had a pastor there, he at one point was like, he doesn't want to like deal with me. I told you this all the time. I was kind of like a very argumentative kid.
Yeah.
If I felt differently from an adult, I would let you know, I don't believe this is true, and you're gonna have to convince me. Give me more facts. So that was a thing. I'd have to pass Bible. Bible was a course which was not even like recommended by, well, you guys would say state if you're in the States or whatever, but it wasn't recommended by the education system, but the school had Bible as a mandatory thing.
Right, because you went to religious. I went to Catholic school, so we took religion.
Yeah. I didn't like it. Every single year I had to read the Bible from front to back. And if I failed Bible, I would repeat that year.
Well, that's a lot.
I could pass all the STEM courses and fail Bible, and they're like, you need to redo this year.
Because you're going to a religious school.
I'm like, this is stupid.
Or else what would be the point of going to a religious school if you're not learning religion?
Yeah, I didn't care for it. But love Little Nas X. What have you been up to?
I haven't been up to anything.
Nothing. You know what I've been up to? Replying to people on freaking YouTube. They are being wild. That last episode of DragRace, when Utica went home.
The episode before last.
Yeah, that one a couple weeks ago. The people are really sad or upset or up in arms. I don't get it. She sucked. She went home. Like, leave it alone.
I know. I guess she just has a lot of fans because she was giving great fashion at the beginning of the season. We're all like, this is the fashion girl. You know, she's going to go pretty far. Yeah. And she did go pretty far. But she really stumbled a lot more than I thought she would.
She had nothing left to give.
I don't know how you can be a kooky person and not be funny at all.
It's like, that's why I feel like there's a little bit of fakeness with her.
Uh, I don't know if it's fakeness or if it's just like she doesn't know herself yet or is still trying to find herself. You know what I mean? Like there's insecurity, so she doesn't she isn't her authentic self all the time because she's
And that's being
insecure
fake.
about who she is.
This is what I saw when I first saw her in Meet the Queens. I said to myself, or to the camera, I did record it. I don't remember exactly what I said, but I remember thinking, I don't know if this kookiness is authentic. It
Mm-hmm.
feels like she's trying really hard to be something. It's like she thought to herself when she got the call. Most of the winners were a little different. The fans react well to people with a little difference, like Jinx Monsoon. She was a narcoleptic girl that was a little funny and kooky.
Yeah.
Um, ooh, Evie Oddly.
Yeah.
She's odd. It's in her name. She is different. All these girls that Katya, she didn't win, but fans love her. People
Mm-hmm.
that are just a little off than the norm. They're funny, they're kooky, they're different oddballs. And she thought, I'm going to come and this is what I'm going to brand myself as. If I don't win, at least I will have a great fan base that will support me through whatever.
I don't think so. I think she is a weird person. I think she is a really artsy person. I mean,
She,
we've seen a lot of her like performances before the show, outside the show,
yeah,
and she is kind of like that is her style, that is her fashion, that is the way she acts.
maybe it is, but I feel like there's something a little extra that she's putting on for the cameras.
I mean, I do when we did watch Meet the Queens, I think it's weird when people announce that they're
They're
kooky.
kooky.
Yeah.
Like, let me see that for myself, and then and like say, okay, that's what you're giving. If you walk into a room and say, I'm the prettiest person in the world, I'm gonna be like, well, no, you're not.
Yeah. Like just be there and then we'll figure out if you're pretty or not.
Exactly. But yeah, people online were saying, "Oh, please remember who has the power here. The judges are the ones making bully." People are like, the judges were bullying her while she was doing her set.
I don't think that there was any bullying whatsoever. Like she bombed one of the worst bombs we've ever seen on that show. And
Simone
people,
was hard to watch, but when she came on, I was like, "Whoa!"
yeah,
I
people
didn't
because
know.
of the mean element.
Yeah,
But for the judges to be like, you bombed, that's not bullying.
no, not at all. And I feel like even some of the laughs she got was like it was like them trying to like boost her confidence and not make her feel
Yeah.
awkward on the stage.
Yeah, or else it would have been dead silent because there's no crowd.
Because if it were me, if it sucks, I'm literally gonna just stare at you like, and you're not gonna get that laugh from me. If I don't find it funny, I'm not laughing. Rue laughs at everything, even when it's bad, just to make you feel like, okay, I'm doing something.
Yeah, there's definitely some awkward laughing. Like, let's just try to move this along.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, you guys are. Someone said to me, they made me, because a lot of times people comment, and I'm not sure if they're talking about me or they're talking about fans or they're talking about in general. But someone clearly said, you, as in me, I'm a part of the problem because I'm harsh on people for. I don't even know what they were trying to say because it was all over the place. Basically, they're trying to say that other people do fat jokes and I don't have a problem with it, but when Utica does it, it's the end of the world. I'm like, no, I don't recall.
It's the way it's the way she did it. If you can like in a roast, obviously people will can make fun of you for being fat, but they don't just say like you're fat. Ha ha like that's not the joke. The joke is not you're fat.
Yeah.
Like what was it? Oh, Got Mick made the joke about Ross watching pornography and coming when the pizza gets
you
there.
obviously get
That's
a
obviously
fat
a joke, yeah, about his weight, but it's not like, hey, you're overweight. Let's all laugh at that.
Everyone took a jab at Nina West and her broad shoulders.
Yeah.
And that's a body joke.
Yeah.
And no one is just like, Nina Flowers.
Nina West.
Sorry, Nina West. You're a fat cunt, or you're a broad-shouldered weirdo. It was always like a smart reference and making it funny.
Yeah, and then remember in rehearsals, she's like, she says like some fat joke, and then she also says like Lonnie's fat, and then she starts making these hand gestures.
God. The rehearsals. So she did the joke about Nina, and she's like, the whole whale sound,
yeah.
And she's like, oh, I thought you spoke whale. And people online are like, oh, that's from Nemo and blah 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 and Lion King. So I'm like, what are you trying to say all her jokes were Disney reference? Because that's not the case. Anyways, she did that, and Lonnie and them were awkwardly laughing, and Michelle and Lonnie said, "Probably don't do that." And they're like, "Oh, Michelle, don't you know Timba and whatever from Lion King?" She's like, "Yeah, I'm kind of giving you a blow by blow here, but literally what she did was
the Simone and the Pumbaa joke.
Simone and
Yeah.
Pumbaa. Literally, what Utica did in the rehearsals was say, when Michelle said, "Yeah, I'm a mom. I know Lion King very well." She's like, "You look like you're a mom." That was
Yeah.
cringy.
That was cringy.
And then she didn't just stop there. She came back around and did the whole hand gesture, like putting her arms apart, like weight, like showing size, like
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're wide, you're big, you've pushed out children. That was awkward and kind of rude. And then she went over to Lonnie and to like, "You laughing at that? You can relate, huh?"
Yeah.
And she did it again, like, you're laughing at her fat ass. You're fat too, bitch. Remember? That's what she was giving.
It just felt like she just dug herself deeper and deeper into holes. And she even said it because I watched Untucked afterwards. She's like, I feel like sometimes when I'm
Nervous? Like,
yeah, when I'm not doing well, I grasp at straws. Included the straws that she grasps at are the low hanging fruit about people's weight. And then when we watched Bob and Monet,
yeah.
Bob was like, remember in Snatch Game, she's bombing, and then she just decides
Oh,
to call pork chop fat
true. That was
out of
another awkward
nowhere.
moment.
Like, what does that have to do with Bob Ross?
Bob Ross would never come at someone like
Never.
that. Bob Ross is the gentlest person. He whispers, for Christ's sakes.
It was so strange. So it's like, is that? I don't know. There's some deep stuff there, but I
Oh,
think people are being too precious about Utica.
too precious. And I personally have an issue with sympathizers. You know this about me. Like, from the moment we met,
You don't
I've said
sympathize
that.
with anyone.
No, that's not it.
Not an empathetic person at all.
I'm very empathetic, but I do have an issue with sympathizers of people who clearly do something wrong, and then all people try to do, because they're fans of that person, is try to justify why they might have done it. I always, in any instance, I look at why someone would have done what they did, or what they might have been going through, go through all the possible scenarios. But at the end of the day, no matter what scenario I go through, if it was wrong, it was just wrong. If it was a bad joke, it was just a bad joke. It doesn't mean I hate them and I think they should die and I'm canceling them. I cancel no one.
That's the thing. It's people are acting like Utica's canceled. No one said
Yeah,
Utica's
she's
canceled.
not canceled.
We're just saying she made fat jokes and she shouldn't have. No one's being like, we're canceling Utica because she insulted overweight people. No.
And that, I think the fans are taking it so seriously.
People are just reviewing her performance on one episode.
I was like, yeah, it was a bad go, and it was funny and cringy and entertaining TV, and it was just bad. And I moved on with my life, and I think a lot of other people moved on with their lives. But the fans of her is like, how dare you say she was bad? The judges could have done better or done something else. I'm like, you guys are stupid.
I know. They are acting like the judges set her up to go home. Like she did a good job and then they made shit up to force her home. Believe me, they did not. Utica should have went home episodes ago. If anything, they kept her there longer.
It's
than
with
she
her
should have.
kookiness that they kept her, because they thought she had something else to give and she was interesting.
But, and it turns out she does not.
And I love her. I initially thought she was going to be top 4. And then as time went on, I realized, okay, she
can't do anything but fashion.
Yeah, she's
at
good
this
at
point
fashion,
in her career.
But
she can lip sync too.
She's a good lip syncer. I've seen YouTube videos of her doing it, and I see her doing it on the show, and I enjoy her style.
Yeah.
Except for that last one with Simone, that's where she faltered, and she went home for a good reason.
I think she just gave up.
Maybe. But she lip syncs well. She wears nice clothes. I didn't like her last outfit, though, to be honest. But when it comes to acting, it's just not there. It comes to comedy, it's not there. To choreography, it's not there. Rapping, it's not there. So there's a few elements there that she needs to work on. But yeah, if you're still mad at what I had to say about her in my YouTube video, I don't know what to tell you guys. Like, drink some water and like watch The Wiggles. Maybe that will like get you out of that funk. But you want to get into some topics from the timeline today? Okay, a few things are happening right now in the timeline. One big thing that just happened this week or last week or whatever, it was Ariana Grande is going to be a judge on The Voice. She is replacing Nick Jonas. What do you think about that?
I feel like it's so random.
Very random. Like, she's a huge international pop star.
Not that people, I mean, when you think back to X Factor, Demi Lovato was a judge on X
But
Factor.
Demi Lovato's career wasn't really taking off back then, in my opinion. I feel like she had some bops, but I don't think she was the global success. Like Ari, I don't even think Demi Lovato is still in the league of Ariana Grande.
I wasn't. Anyways, Demi Lovato on X Factor. Britney Spears was on X Factor too. Nicki Minaj was on American Idol. I think those are the most like current people. But generally, like a spot on the panel, even though The Voice isn't exactly a panel, on those types of reality shows are like something you do in like the twilight of your career.
Mm-hmm.
Not something you do when you're on top of the world.
Right.
But maybe she just wanted, I mean, I'm sure they're paying her a pretty penny.
Of course, she's probably getting at least $16 million.
The girl's been pumping out music like crazy lately, and she clearly likes to work. And there's no there's no touring coming up anytime soon, so maybe she just wanted a little something cute to do in between, so that she doesn't like her fingers don't start itching, and she releases another album.
It's smart, I guess, because it depends on how much she's getting paid. Then I'll see how smart it is. She's doing so well. Her music never flops. You know, her fans are loyal. She's like one of the most followed people on Instagram, point blank. All I know is The Voice is about to be popping because all her fans are gonna tune in every week to watch. So their ratings are gonna go up.
Think so?
I think so.
I don't know. Who watches TV?
They're going to start watching for her.
You can just watch the clips on YouTube.
I feel like the ratings will go up. It's a nice gig, and you're right. There's no touring right now, so might as well go get paid for sitting and coaching some kid. You know?
Yeah. It'll be so interesting to see her on there. First of all, she's so tiny.
Yeah.
In those little chairs, and so I guess it's her, Gwen, Blake, and.
Wait, you mean it's gonna be Gwen again? They're getting rid of Kelly.
Or Kelly.
I think it's Kelly.
I don't know.
It's Blake, Kelly, Ariana, and what's that guy's name?
John Legend?
John Legend. I almost said Usher. I was like, Jesus, not me mixing up black people.
Okay, maybe it's the four of them. They usually have two girls and two guys.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see her in that dynamic. Obviously, she's like the voice of this generation, so she's a great coach to have.
I think she's going to do very well because she has a good personality. Like, she's fun.
She does. But like not in, I don't know. Is she very conversational?
Oh, for sure. I could see that.
She's cute. I don't know. I haven't watched the show in so long anyways.
Yeah, I haven't been into it in a while. Just because the talent that's been coming on, it's like meh.
Meh?
Yeah. I've seen clips on YouTube. I'm like, this is meh.
Jesus.
And The Voice is more about the coaches than it is about the contestants. And for that reason, I'm like, it loses the appeal for me. I remember back in the day when...
But that was always the appeal.
Yeah, for The Voice itself. I remember back in the day when I was into singing competition shows, I really liked X Factor and I really liked American Idol because I liked that it was more about... I mean, for those things, it was a lot about the coach, the judges, because Simon was such a big personality, but they really cared and really wanted the contestants to do well after the show. Now, I don't think anyone cares what happens to the contestants after the show.
I don't think anyone on The Voice has done anything.
Yeah, they are literally one of the only shows that no one that's won has gone on to do great things.
Yeah, exactly.
When it comes to American Idol, you can clearly tell people have gotten careers.
Yeah, pretty much all of them had careers, even if it was only one or two albums.
Right. Then X Factor, you had One Direction, Pretty Mix, Little Mix.
But that was in the UK.
Yeah.
One Direction was...
in America.
Yeah.
No. It was actually in...
Oh, they were in the UK too?
But the Camila Cabello's group, Fifth Harmony.
They were on the American one.
Yeah. So they have pushed out some stars. Leona Lewis, all of that type of stuff.
Oh, yes, Leona Lewis. Yeah. The other thing that I saw today was, you know how Quavo and Sweetie like broke up or whatever.
Saweetie.
No, but anyways, there's this video that came out today, the day we're recording this
Yeah, we're
podcast.
recording this podcast like a week in advance, so get
Uh,
over it.
yeah, a video came out today of them having like an altercation in a elevator,
I know that. Who do they think they are? Beyonce and Jay Z? Like
pretty much.
tryhards.
But there's no, I mean, at the time of recording this podcast, we don't really know anything about the video, but essentially in it, you see them like struggling with a couple bags. Like originally, like Sweetie has the bags in her hand, and then Quavo tries to take them, and then the elevator goes down. The door opens up. Someone's outside the elevator. It
Yeah.
seems like that person doesn't know them because he just stands
He,
there, waits for the door to
I feel like that
close.
would kind of be me in a way. It depends because if I see a domestic
So you're saying
altercation, no,
if
no,
you
no,
saw someone
I
getting
did
domestic abuse, you wouldn't do anything?
gaslighting.
Well, explain yourself.
I was. I feel like I don't know how I would react initially. My first instinct when I see people in danger is always to lunge in and try to help. But if it actually happens and it's a domestic thing, I haven't seen any domestic thing altercations happening in personally, but I have seen people be like harassed, and I have stepped in. But watching something domestic like that, it's tricky. There was this guy back home where I'm from. He was a reporter, very popular, and there was a domestic altercation in public once, like at a gas station, and he tried to help the woman. And do you know that after he like pulled the man off of her and like got her to safety, they both sued him.
Hmm.
They both sued him. He had to like stay off the air for like a year because he was going through this huge lawsuit.
That's sad.
So it's like sometimes you gotta let people just do what they do because they might turn around and beat your ass.
Well, that's the thing. There's no audio on the elevator video, so the guy might have been like, "Are you okay?" Because when the door opens, Sweetie's just on the ground.
She's on the ground. He's standing there, and the guy's like standing out the elevator. You can only see at the bottom half of his body.
Yeah, so he might have asked her if she was okay or something.
Yeah, I felt like she was just on the ground crying. That's what I feel like was happening.
Probably.
But it was very. The first half of it was very hard to watch. She was like grabbing her bags, trying to escape him.
We think.
That's what I'm gathering from the visuals that I saw, no audio. And he grabbed the black bag and had it over his shoulder. She was grabbing the pink one. He grabbed that from her and he pulled her in, and she was on the ground. And it just felt like he was just standing over her, like trying to get back to their apartment while she was just there on the ground the entire elevator ride. Even when they got to whatever floor that guy was on, and the guy looked like he was like, I want no parts of this. I'll take the next elevator. Y'all do what you do.
Mm-hmm.
They went up to the floor Quavo wanted to go to, and she was still on the floor for a second until she got up and followed him into wherever they went.
Yeah.
It was very Ike and Tina.
We think. Allegedly, we don't know. But that's how it seems. And the thing is, when they broke up, what was it, a couple weeks ago or 3 or 4 weeks ago?
Mm-hmm.
It was all this like, it kind of seemed like maybe he cheated on her, but then he was trying to make it seem like maybe she cheated. It was just all this like back and forth of like,
and
who was at
his
fault.
family was saying, "Oh, none of us like you, to Sweetie, because she's bossy or whatever."
Yeah, yeah.
Now to see that he was freaking abusive, like not just physically or emotionally, he was like putting hands.
Yeah,
physically. On her. What did I just say?
Not physically or emotionally.
Oh my god, I wanted to say verbally, and physically came out.
Oh yeah, verbally. I saw that Quavo also posted a snippet this morning on Instagram of new music.
Oh yeah, because he has been in the studio with what, Khaled, DJ.
I don't know.
I saw him posting. Yeah, I saw him posting Instagram clips like maybe a week ago that he's in the studio with Khaled and some other people.
I think this was a Migos song, but it's just interesting the timing.
I know that person who released it, the video of the elevator fight.
They might have been waiting.
Yeah,
they might have been waiting till something came up, which was him posting a snippet of new music. And then I was looking through his story, and he was like still promoting it after the video came out. I'm like, don't.
Maybe
you obviously saw. No, you obviously saw it, because you know when stuff like that happens,
everyone sends it to you.
Them. Yeah, like, did you see this? What's going on? Are you know what I mean? And your management team should be on it anyways.
I'm waiting to see who's going to be the one to say something about the video first. Will she address it first? Will he address it first? Will they both ignore it? What will happen?
I think neither of them should say nothing.
If I were them, I wouldn't say anything either. But as I'm not a fan, I don't know any of their music personally. But as just a spectator, I would like for them to say something.
Yeah, because we know how mad you were when Megan Thee Stallion didn't want to talk about what happened to her.
I just didn't understand it.
You were mad.
Mad. So you're telling me how I felt.
I'm telling you how the rest of us observed you. You were frustrated. You're like, why won't she just say something? At this point, I'm sick of hearing all these news stories comes out about it. Just tell us what happened.
Is that what I said,
on.
Or is that what you're projecting?
No, that's what you said. That's like paraphrasing. We could probably go back and look at the episode.
We've never talked about this Megan on the podcast. I think
never. You're a liar.
I don't recall.
No,
I feel like we talked about it in person. I don't think we talked about it on the podcast.
I recall very well.
Well, since you brought it up, for Megan's story, when we saw the video of her limping out of the car and the helicopters above her and the police and everything, I was like, that's terrifying. One, they could have shot her ass right there. Game over. Because it was just around the time when they were killing a bunch of black people. So,
well, they always do.
I mean, a lot of it was very public and it was just like all over the news. So it was kind of scary to see that. But when she went to the hospital and everything was said and done, she showed the images of the shot wounds, which I thought was like, whoa, you're showing us this? I'm like, why is it this guy isn't arrested yet? And why is it she's protecting him? And I understand a lot about fear and like loyalty and how love makes you do crazy things. And I don't know if any of this applies to her specifically, but I felt like she was trying to protect him out of some type of loyalty or love, even though she was hurt. Because a lot of women do this.
And how did that make you feel?
It frustrated me a bit because I have a bunch of sisters and a mom, and I hate to see women being taken advantage of. I hate to see women in a position where they feel like they need to protect their aggressors, and it frustrated me.
And that's what I said.
I don't recall. I had to say it in my own words. I can't have you writing a narrative for me.
It's the same narrative.
I have to say it myself, though.
Anyways, I'm sure we'll find out more about this elevated video as things go on, but it's just sad because I feel like so many girls are in this sort of situation.
Oh, for sure.
Like you think that, or I don't know, maybe I think that domestic abuse happens less often these days because like women are more independent and like men are learning, blah blah. Like it seems like such a like 50s housewife kind of thing. But then you hear these stories and it's like, no, seems like it happens just as much as it ever did.
For sure. And people love to save face. It's like history rewrites itself all the time. We're like in a loop. Unfortunately, technology keeps advancing, but as far as people and the human condition, it hasn't evolved that much over the past 100 years. And so you still find like in the 50s, a housewife would get beaten or roughed up and she would cover it up with her makeup and go to her little luncheon and act like everything's perfect. Now it's just that she gets roughed up and she will cover it up and they go on Instagram Live and they kiss and they take a photo and say we're couples goals, knowing good and damn well that this is not the ideal situation to be in. And some of them, they just feel like that's what their life is supposed to be and that's all they can look forward to, which is sad.
I will say that maybe nowadays the public isn't as accepting about it. I think that back in the day when you saw like a wife or whatever with like a bruise or like a black eye, like some people would just be like, hush hush, or like, what did you do to make him angry, that kind of stuff. But I feel like if that kind of thing happens to someone in your friend group, you're like, girl, get out, like this, that, you know what I mean? I think those attitudes have probably changed.
Those things have changed to a certain degree though, because it's like so with women, I don't want to speak for women because I'm not one, but I have experiences with girls and seen how they've dealt with certain situations where I know that I've known of a girl that was in a relationship or a situation that was really not ideal. Emotionally, physically, all of that. She was being abused. And she was in love. In her mind, she was in love, love. This was who was going to be the father of her kids. This was who she wanted to marry. This was who she wanted to spend the rest of her life with, no matter what. And you'd see certain things and hear her talk about certain things, and I'd be like, you have options, you can go, like, this person does not define you. And I'd see other girls around her be like, yes, sis, leave that guy and blah blah blah, but at the same time they're all in the same boat and they're all doing the same thing and having their guys do the same things to them. So in her mind, it's like, y'all bitches doing it too, so why you want to tell me to leave the man I love? And so looking at them, being in that room and hearing all of them talk and like seeing their situations, I'm like, well, who here has the strength to like leave?
Well, I think everyone sees their own situation differently, right?
Yeah.
They're like, well, my situation's not as bad as.
Because she always like picked up for him in a way or like rationalized it. Oh, I knew what I was doing. I knew I was pushing him when I was like arguing. I knew I was like pushing buttons I shouldn't push. And so when he hit me, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, I was like, okay. I said what I had to say, like, get out, leave. Like, I have a couch. I have a couch. I have a pull out thingy. You can even take my room. Like, I offered what I could, and that's as much as I'm going to be able to do right now. But that's that on domestic violence. There are plenty of organizations out there with support systems if you don't have friends and family that can support you. I wish I had one that I could plug right now. I'll probably find one and put it in the description for people in Toronto. You can go online and Google something for whatever is in your city. So you guys been listening to the podcast. Thank you.
But if the Too Much podcast isn't enough, there's a whole lot more content on Michael's YouTube.
Yeah, I post like every single week and I have literally too much going on over there.
Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and please drop a comment and tell us what you thought or what you'd like to see Michael do next.
Bye. Oh, no. Back to the show. This week we are talking about documentaries. Mainly because we just got done watching like 2 of them in one night, and I just thought there were so many interesting things that happened in these people's lives that it would be really interesting to talk about it in front of you guys. What's the first one we watched?
The first one we watched was Demi Lovato's new documentary, Dancing with the Devil. It's on YouTube. I don't know how many parts it is. I want to say it's 4 parts. We watched parts 1 and part 2.
Right. Part 3 comes out within a few days.
Yeah. And then I think there's a 4th part if I remember correctly, but we'll see. And it basically just talks about kind of the moments leading up to her
overdose,
near fatal overdose, and then her journey afterwards.
It was very interesting. I remember watching clips of the first documentary she did with YouTube, when she talked about punching the dancer in the face who ratted her out for doing drugs. This one, it took, like, they were doing a documentary in like 2018, but then they had to stop for whatever reason. And this was like kind of picking up from... They stopped
because she had the overdose.
Okay, so it's because of the overdose. So they picked up where they left off there, and that's where the conversation kind of picked up, right?
Yeah, pretty much. They were filming the documentary during her 2018 tour. And then she had the overdose, I guess, after she had done touring that album. Yeah. So then when the overdose happened, they were like, okay, well, we're not going to put out a documentary right now because she's clearly taking a break, blah, blah, blah.
It showed me how deceptive and cunning people on drugs can be. I personally don't know a lot of people on drugs. I've had one experience in my life with someone who abused substances, and they were very cunning because they would hide stuff. But I'm a big snoop. Like, I'm a big snoop when it comes to like in the household. I don't want there to be nothing being hidden from me. But apart from that, like watching Demi, She said she could hide everything. She convinced everyone around her she was fine, and she convinced them like sobriety was like getting on top of her nerves, so she needed to just do something to feel alive. And they're like, "All right, you can drink and smoke." And then she made it seem like she was really under control with the drinking and smoking, but secretively doing what? Heroin and
Yeah.
cocaine?
Yeah.
I was like, how does no one notice?
Because she did it by herself. Or with it, she did it with a dealer. Like the people in her circle, her friends, are not people who do drugs. So she would like invite over a drug dealer, or you know what I mean? Things like
Yeah.
that.
So it's just wild to me for celebrities like this. They kind of always have someone around, and it almost feels like there are always people around her, but no one really stayed in the house with her. At the end of the night, she was always left in the house by herself,
Because she's a grown woman.
which I get, but it kind of made me feel like, oh, this is interesting because I always have this in my mind that as a celebrity in their 20s and 30s, look at Todrick Hall. We just watched like his house tour. He said he has two assistants that live in his house with him. So, and that's how I imagine a lot of Hollywood people,
Mm-hmm.
where they are younger and they just always need people around. They need assistants doing whatever. If it's their chef, that person lives with them. If it's their assistant, they live on property and they go everywhere with them.
Yeah.
Or security. So when I found out that okay, people spend a lot of time with her at her house, and sometimes they sleep over, but no one lives there with her.
Right.
She's oftentimes left alone at the end of the night after the party's done. Everyone go, I'm here on my own.
Mm-hmm.
So that gives her a lot of time to do what she wants to do.
Yeah, exactly.
So it makes sense why no one in her circle really knew she was dealing or using.
Except that one girl. Remember that one girl with the blue hair who was formerly one of her sober coaches?
Yeah.
They were having like a games night at Demi's place, and then Demi like kind of disappeared, and then the friends were like, "Oh, what's Demi up to?" So she went to go check on Demi, went up to her room, and she was like in the bathroom, like doing some sort of drug. She said like there was tinfoil, and she was high, and she was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
So that was one incident that happened prior to the overdose. So obviously that friend must have known
she was using again.
that she had
That's
relapsed.
obviously not going to be a one-off thing.
Right.
And to me, as a sober coach and best friend, at that point, what did you do to like? Did you go and tell the security team? Did you go and tell the label, her handlers? Because obviously there are handlers. We never really see who the handlers are or hear what their
The
names.
black girl was her assistant.
Yeah, I know the assistant, but there are people above her, like because it was very obvious when they were talking like, okay, I wasn't in control of anything. Everyone was making sure I was sober and blah blah blah. So I felt like the label was like on her ass, and they probably had people in place to be like, come blue haired girl, make sure she doesn't fall off track. Assistant, if something happens, let the security know. Security, if something happens, let us know. I feel like there are people at the top managing and making sure that things were okay.
Yeah, and the last documentary I watched, which I actually just watched like 2 weeks ago, her manager was like very all over the place, and he's not her manager anymore, I guess, since the overdose. Okay. It seems like since the overdose she like cleared house. But in the first documentary she's like, I went through like a bunch of sober coaches, and yeah, like her manager was like, there was a point where I was thinking of dropping her, and they had to watch her every move. And then in this one, of course, like you were saying, she talks about how there was so much control that it was making her miserable. Like yeah. She had a chef and a nutritionist and like people who would work out with her, and like everybody was trying so hard to keep her sober that she felt like she wasn't even getting to live her real life.
And what do you think would be better for her in that situation?
Well, for her, obviously, she thought that she needed some freedom.
Yeah, but bitch, you can't handle freedom.
Well, I don't know. It's hard because she's handling it right now, but maybe
as far as we know,
maybe she'll relapse again. Yeah. But the obviously it was too strict for her.
Because I remember when I was watching it, I was thinking, oh, it was because that same thing you said. I saw her talking about it, and I'm like, but you felt restricted and blah, 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 but it's for your own good. If they let up on you, you're going to go right back to doing what you did. And we saw that. She literally did what she was not supposed to do. And in her mind, she's saying to herself, if they haven't like made things so strict, I wouldn't have been pushed to go do this.
Well, I
But
think
I'm like, take some responsibility here.
she does. She says she takes all responsibility, but I think she was getting to the point where she felt like her life wasn't worth living because there was no fun, like there was no free will.
But it seemed like she did have fun though. Like her friends were always there and they were always like having a good time. But I feel like she just missed going out to a club and doing what everyone else her age was doing. That's what I feel.
Maybe. But also, it seems like there was people around a lot. Like I know we said that she was probably like it didn't seem like anyone was living in the house with her, but there was always someone there.
Hmm.
Like basically morning to night, somebody was around. Whether it was her assistant or a sober coach or the nutritionist or she was going to like workout sessions to try to stay sober and like focus her energy on something else. You know what I mean? Even she talked about how she was basically suicidal.
Yeah.
And that's why she started drinking. She's like, I need something to relax. Like I'm too sober. And she's like, when all these people are like so focused on keeping you sober, all she ever thought about was staying sober, which at the same time makes you think about doing drugs.
Yeah. Like I
It's like when people talk about like how they had like a pressure to be perfect
mm-hmm,
and then they fucked up because the pressure to be perfect was too much.
overwhelms them.
Yeah.
Uh and hopefully now they've worked out a good formula because because being sober for 6 years, that's like an amazing accomplishment.
It's a long time, yeah.
So maybe what they should have done is like loosen the reins a little bit. Like, okay, if you want to drink a little bit, like do that, but let's not go crazy with a glass of wine a day. How about we let the nutritionist make you mix drinks and like control the alcoholic content?
But isn't that still control? I feel like she wanted a part of her life where she could have her own freedom to make her own choices. But it's hard because some people who have substance abuse problems will tell you that it has to be cold turkey.
Yeah,
Like there's a lot of people who are drug addicts who say like, no, I don't even drink, because once you get into something,
yeah,
it's just a slippery slope. But then there's other people who are like, and I think even Demi said this now. Maybe it comes up in later episodes that we haven't seen, but when she was doing the press, she talked about how she still drinks now.
okay.
Like she drinks occasionally and she feels like it helps her stay sober. Like she clearly cannot
Do
always be
nothing at all.
sober, but there's some people who are like, I need to always be 100% sober because as soon as I slip, that's the end of it.
And that's what I was thinking with Demi's case. I'm like, she convinced them to allow her to start drinking and taking and do like smoking.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, well, you know what? Not everyone can just not do anything at all. Because I know I don't have a problem at all with any type of substance.
But you love a glass of wine.
Occasionally, um, I feel like if I go a whole year without drinking, I will be fine. But if I have my way, I would like to have at least one bottle in my house. Sometimes the bottles are there and I just don't touch them or look at them, but I'd like to have one just in case I feel like I want to go watch a movie and drink wine in bed. I feel like I should be able to do that.
Yeah.
And sometimes just that little freedom of like having that glass and watching a movie, it just makes you feel more in control.
Yeah, exactly.
So I hope things go better for her. But when we saw the whole part of the documentary when she overdosed, that was scary.
Yeah. I mean, well, when the story happens, well, a couple weeks after it happens, they were saying like it's bad. Like originally it was just like, oh, she overdosed and she went to the hospital and I'm sure she'll,
Mm-hmm.
recover. But then it's like, no, this girl was fully like
On death's
basically
door.
lying dead in her bedroom until her assistant came in that morning.
Yeah.
And then even when she went to the hospital, it's like there was so much brain damage and then she had to learn
So
to do all these things
the
again.
documentary kind of jumped back and forth with that storyline, but we can tell it straight. She was partying with her friends that night, her choreographer for her tour, and some other people. She said, please stay over with me. They're like, no, we're going to go home. I have to do this and that. The sober coach was like, I have to be on a flight in the morning to go to New York. Everyone was like, we have other things to do. We can't sleep over. So that was obviously a cry. She was like needed someone to be there with her. So when they all left, she called her plug. I feel so hip saying plug, by the way, because that's not a word I use. She called her plug, and he came over and gave her some bad drugs. Like it was laced with something. They said the name.
Fentanyl.
Fentanyl. Okay.
She wanted to do oxy, and the oxy had fentanyl in it, which is how a lot of people die from fentanyl overdoses.
So why do they even make it with laced fentanyl?
I don't know why it happens. I think
is
I
it
don't
like
know.
a cheaper way to do it?
Yeah, I don't know if the fentanyl is cheaper or whatever. But yeah, that's the problem, and that's why when people talk about legalizing drugs, it's so that they can regulate things like that, so that dirty drugs aren't on the street. Because these days, most people die from the fentanyl overdose over overdosing from the actual drug.
Okay, interesting. I need to look deeper into that. So he came over. He gave her the drugs. She was high off of her rockers, and he had sex with her. And she, in that moment, said, "Yeah, sure," but she was too high to really be giving consent. And months later, she realized, you know what, that was really not okay. And so obviously now it's like avoid consensual sexual experience.
Yeah, because she barely even remembered it. When they asked about it, she's like, "Oh, I had like a flash of someone on top of me, so I said, yeah, I did have consensual sex because I like had a flash of remembering it." But that's all she remembered was a flash.
Side note, I wonder what's going on with this guy now. I wonder if she's like trying to find him to like break his legs or
Probably
what.
not. But remember after the overdose, it was very like it came out the name of the guy who was there, and I'm pretty sure he was like doing interviews and stuff.
Oh, you see, I forget all of that. I forgot all of that.
He's just a trash character.
So her assistant came in the morning, found her in bed, butt naked and blue. She was freaking out, called the security. The security said, "Okay, I'm on my way." Then people wanted to keep it hush hush because she's a big name, and no one wanted to like ruin the reputation of her going on tour singing about sobriety and like talking about mental health, and then here you are strung out, left for dead on your bed, because of drugs. But the assistant was like, "I feel like she might die," so she called 911. The ambulance came. They didn't want the sirens on, which I was like, the operator said it's an emergency, so we have to have the sirens on. But I was thinking, when you're coming to the place, do you actually have to have it on? She lives in a gated community. There's no traffic.
I don't know if you actually do, because there's a lot of times if you're not a lot of the times, but there's been times I'm out on the street at night when an ambulance will go by and the sirens are not on. It's just the lights on.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but this is obviously a different place, different laws. But
so I always thought the sirens were on so that other drivers know, get out the way. Not just because it's emergency. Like if the road is clear, you don't have to have it on.
Right. Because sometimes they just do it. They like press the button when they're going through an intersection or something. Yeah.
So I was thinking, well, you can tell them to be discreet. When you come into the neighborhood, you can like turn it off because it's a residential area. It's not like there's traffic on the road. So that was weird. But the ambulance came. They brought her to the hospital, and there was like brain damage.
Yeah, I don't remember too much of it, but they said there was a lot of brain damage, and she says that she still has blind spots to this day. She is not allowed to drive because of obviously the blind spots.
Right. And she was legally blind for a good minute while in the hospital.
Yeah, it took a minute for her vision to come back and things like that, and just memory problems, just like a lot of stuff that you get from brain damage, just like learning to. Like, I think she had to do, like, a little bit of rehab, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To, like, get back into the swing of things. But to this day, she still is not allowed to drive.
And I was like, well, I did not know, like, drugs could do all of this to you. I'm, like, my thought process when it comes to drugs, I don't do anything, but my thought process is, if you overdose, it kills you. And that's it. If you survive the overdose, then you go to rehab to, like, flush it out of your system and you go back to normal. I didn't know that this would like affect your brain that much.
Well, because the drugs kill you slowly. They don't kill you quickly. So she was sitting there with not enough blood going.
Oxygen
Yeah,
going to
not
her.
yeah. They said that in the hospital too, that she didn't have enough oxygenated blood,
Yeah.
so she doesn't have enough oxygen going to her brain. If your brain is left without like oxygen to function, the longer it's left, the more brain cells die.
Right. So that was very interesting. She seems to be on a better path right now. I wish her the best. I love her. I love her music. I love a lot of things about her. Didn't we learn that she was sexually assaulted when she was like a teenager on
Oh yeah,
Disney?
I don't think that came up yet.
Yeah, so that was like in a news story.
So it's got to be in
So
episodes coming
the
up.
episode's coming up. We'll learn more about what happened with her on that TV show she was on.
Yeah.
But that's it for Demi. We watched another documentary of one of your favorite singers and one of mine as well. But I think you love her a little bit more than I do.
Yes, Tina, the Tina Turner story.
Tina Turner is one of those stories that everyone knows. Eat the Cake anime. That movie in 1993 was freaking groundbreaking. It's one of my favorite movies, just like movies in general.
I didn't see the movie for a long time. Like I remember I got introduced to Tina Turner. I don't know how I got introduced to Tina Turner. I remember seeing a concert on TV, obviously a rerun because I was not watching television like that in the 90s, but there was a rerun of a concert. It was one of her farewell concerts, just like on a Friday night on one of those cable channels that nobody watches. And then I was like, I dig this chick, and then I got super into her. And then I found out she had like a biographical movie, so then I watched that, and I was like, oh, and then I bought her book, and then I read the book. Yeah, and then that's how I started loving Tina.
So I've never read the book. I did watch the movie, and I know a lot of stuff from like interviews that she's done. Do you believe this documentary highlighted anything that you did not know from the movie, the books, and just knowing about her from interviews?
Not really. The only thing that I thought I got more insight on was her years in Vegas after
The breakup with
the
Ike.
breakup.
Yeah.
See, because I've seen her on like the Cher show or the Sunny and Cher show or whatever it was at that point, but I never knew her appearances on that were during
Yeah.
her weird transition years, which it made in the documentary. It seemed like she was just taking any job that came to her.
Pretty
So
much.
they were trying to get her booked on all these variety shows, and I also in the movie they make it seem like her career was just like trashed at that point, which it was low. But in the movie, it's like they have one scene where she's like performing for old people, and then she meets up with that manager. But in the documentary, they went more into it, where it was like she was actually like doing these residencies at all these different casinos.
Yeah.
In the movie, they make it seem like she was just like a hotel lounge singer.
But she was. In the documentary, the manager said when I saw her, it wasn't at Vegas. Was it at Vegas?
Yeah, he saw her at Vegas, but he watched her at like a matinee show, and then he
Yeah.
watched her at the 9 o'clock show.
Right, because one of the shows, the people were like having dinner at 6 o'clock, and she was just
Yeah.
there doing little
It was in the
Liza
theater.
Minnelli type stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, like they just made it seem like history had forgotten her. But
Yeah.
in the documentary, like her name is still on the marquee outside.
Right.
But at that time, Vegas was not the Celine Dion, Shania Twain, Britney
She wasn't
Spears
getting
spot
that
that
much
it
money.
was that it is today. It was where people went to die, like Elvis.
Yeah.
So it was like you're on the downturn of your career. So I got a little bit of more insight into that, and like seeing more performances and like her whole little disco era that she went through there.
The whole part about her relationship with Ike, I pretty much knew already. It was very synonymous with what the movie showed us.
Yeah.
They even shot the movie in the actual house they lived in, which I thought was pretty cool.
You think?
It looks like the exact house.
Yeah, they could have replicated it.
The house had the ugliest red carpet throughout and like hallways forever.
The thing is, they might have actually shot it in there because they were showing all that footage of the house.
And no one lives there now.
Which looked like it was from today because it was like these drone shots and stuff. And no one's living there. So yeah, it might have been in the actual house.
So that was interesting to see. I didn't really know much about her family life. And that was interesting to see in the documentary because from the movie, I want to say I remember her living like with a grandmother or some family member. And then when she was older, like in her teen years, she moved to Louisiana to live with her mom and her other sister, and that's where she met Ike out going to a club one night with her sister.
Mm-hmm.
And her mom was always mean to her. I got that from the movie. Her mom didn't really see her as anything special, but once she had money, the mom was like, "All right, you can take care of me. I still don't love you, but
Yeah.
you're my kin."
She's probably just jealous.
Probably. But learning in the documentary that one day the mom just like took off, like just left her, her sister and the husband, and be like, "Bye."
Yeah, they tell all the family stuff is in the book because obviously the book covers more than the movie's going to cover.
Yeah.
The only other thing, the book mentions that she had an abortion, and they never mention that in the movie.
Interesting.
They also didn't mention in the documentary.
Because even in the documentary, they kind of brush over the fact that she had a kid before Ike.
Yeah, exactly.
In the movie, I didn't even know that in the movie. In
Yeah.
the movie, I thought Ike was like her first or something.
Yeah, they don't really touch on it, but yeah, she had an abortion. In the book, she talks about like losing her virginity.
Who did she lose it to?
I don't remember, but I just remember she said it was like in a back seat, and it was pretty bloody.
Yikes.
Yeah. The book was great.
I know her first child was with a saxophonist.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know his name or much about him, but that was her first child, and she had one with Ike, and Ike had two outside of her. Is that
Right.
how it went?
I think so, yeah.
So 4 boys in total.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that was interesting to learn. Also, right after she left Ike, and the movie was kind of the same, but a little bit different. I don't remember if in the movie she was crossing a highway.
Yes.
She was?
Yeah.
Okay, so the movie was very true to form.
Yeah, the movie was like
even the white suit, the fight in the limo, she was beat up.
It was pretty much exactly true to form at that point. I mean, in the movie, they actually go up to the front desk and check in, like both beat up. Yeah. That was probably an over dramatization. They probably like had someone else check them in, and they just like walk through the lobby all bloodied up.
But she ran away though. Oh, she went to the room, she massaged him, then she ran away.
Yeah.
Not the Ramada Inn saving Tina.
I can't believe she told them. Well, the thing is, she had no money. I was gonna say I can't believe she told them her real name.
I mean, she had to.
But she had to because she had no money, so she had to like just I'll pay you when I get money.
Yeah, I'm so happy that the manager was like, "I'll help you."
Yeah.
Because they could have easily been like, this was back in the day, and she's a black woman. It doesn't matter if she's a singer or not. She was a black woman back in the day. They could have easily been like, N-word, get out of my building, or whatever.
Oh my God, remember that part? That was a part I didn't know about the documentary, was when Capitol Records called her an N-word douchebag.
They said, I think the correct verbiage was over the hill or middle-aged nigger bitch or something.
Yeah, something like that.
They were pretty much the new president of Capitol Records at that time, because they just switched over, was like, we don't want her on our roster. We're not going to pay for anything she does. Yeah. You need to get rid of her, to her manager at the time. And he was begging, please. She's my artist and I believe in her. Keep her. They're like, we don't want this over the hill, middle-aged, person. And that was really...
It's wild, but at the same time, it's like, no, it's not wild.
It's very believable. This was, 90s?
Yeah.
And this was some white man owning a record label. Wait, hold on. Is it the same guy who was... I need to know, because Mariah had a pretty good relationship with the president.
No. You're talking so many decades apart, Michael.
Is it, though? This is the 90s.
This was not the 90s.
What, was it the 80s?
Yeah, her first solo album came out in like 84, I think.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
All right, I might be remembering wrong. Thankfully, someone else watched it with me, because I do forget things. Guys.
So this probably happened in like 81, 82, maybe 83.
Okay. Because I was like, is this Tommy?
And Tommy was like an executive somewhat like 2 decades later.
Okay.
Or at least a decade, I guess.
But yeah, that was wild. And she went on and had a #1 album. She won 3 Grammys, and her career was stellar.
Thank God.
Thank God. Like, it's crazy to think that all of her huge successes as a solo artist came when she was like in her 50s.
Yeah.
She was on stage doing 180 tours in a year, like
As a
dates.
50-year-old woman.
I couldn't do that at my age.
The prime of her career as a 50-year-old woman.
And it was so wild when she did that song. God, that song. We both loved it, and America didn't care for it. She had to
Oh, River Deep Mountain High.
River Deep Mountain High. That's such a good song, and it
An
got
American Idol staple. I swear they sung that every season.
everywhere. One of my favorite versions is from Glee with Amber Riley.
Ew.
Amber Riley is a God sent singer, so please do not say you. Americans didn't play it on the radio. They're like, we don't know if it's black enough. We don't know if it's white enough. No one wanted to deal with it. But in the UK, they loved it. That was interesting to me. That's such a good song.
I know. It makes sense, though. Like, they had a clip of Ike explaining it, and it's like, if you're a black artist, you need your song to go to the very top of the black charts in order for white radio to start playing it.
Yeah.
And then it can start climbing the white charts. And that's kind of how it has been up until maybe the last 5-10 years.
Yeah.
Now it's like a song, like hip hop and rap can just climb the charts like anything else and usually dominates the charts.
Right now, hip hop and rap is popular music.
Yeah, but if you think back to like even a few years ago, like if you think of like the Nicki Minaj and the Cardi B's of the world, those songs would have to be popular on rap charts before they started getting played on regular radio.
For real, yeah.
But now, like, a City Girls or something, those, like, the popular radio stations, the white radio station Top 40, are, like, looking at artists like that right when their song comes out. Whereas before it was like, let's see what that song can do with the people it's intended for.
Colored people.
And then maybe we'll... And that's how they got the whole definition of crossover artist.
Yeah. Some other things I found interesting... how disrespectful I found interviewers back in the 80s, 90s, even into the 2000s with Britney.
I was going to say, people are just disrespectful.
I feel like it's just now, like literally just now in the 2020, 2021, it's like, you cannot ask me that.
Yeah.
Because for the longest time, they would ask you the wildest questions and talk to you in the wildest manners. And it's like, you should just take it because you need to be glad you're even on my platform.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about when you were abused.
I know.
You probably have PTSD from. Let's talk about your abuse.
Every single interview she did is like, so he beat you, huh? And why did you stay when he was beating you?
Mm-hmm.
Like, every single interview. At this point, it's, to me as a journalist, I would think, if 3 people have asked you that question, why should I be the same as them? Where's the creativity there?
Because that was her story.
So that was a bit, like, unnerving to watch. I just thought I couldn't do it. Having to relive that every single time I went in front of a camera and someone put a mic in my face.
She's strong.
Oh, very strong.
Mm-hmm.
Like, stronger than I feel like I am at this current point in my life, because that was just the beatings she went through, like, the abuse. He would beat her when she was pregnant, then have sex with her after he's done. He's beat her before she performed. All those things.
Yeah, he was a sick man.
Even when they were divorced, they would ask her things about him. Like, oh, he just got arrested and he was on drugs.
They still do that these days.
I wish some reporter would. I'd be like, that has nothing to do with me, sir, ma'am, or the other.
But that's the headline. TinaTurner comments on blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They wanted her to say, I love it, serve some... You know what I mean? Like, that's the headline they want to sell.
But yeah, she survived the music industry for decades. When did she start? She started in the music industry like in the 70s, right?
Was it the 70s? I think it was the 60s.
60s.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was definitely the 60s. I want to say.
I don't know, because, well, she was a teenager still, so it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, and the thing is, they were working for a while before they had hit records. Like, they were just touring as the Ike and TinaTurner band before they were, like, playing other people's songs,
Oh,
right?
Speaking of Ike, another thing I didn't know was that he's, like, a godfather of rock and roll with his hit song, something another, Rock and Roll 88.
Right, race car or rocket? Yeah, Rocket '88.
Rocket 88.
One of the first, allegedly one of the first rock and roll songs ever
And he
recorded.
didn't really get credit for it. His saxophonist got credit for it, and that kind of triggered his anger with artists using his music and not giving him credit, and him staying, poor and whatnot.
Ike and Tina Turner put out their first album in 1961.
Whoa, that's not even late 60s, that's early 60s.
Mm-hmm. They
Crazy.
began performing together in '57.
Her career has really spanned decades.
Oh,
Crazy.
absolutely.
From 61, your first album, to 1980 something, your first hit record, Like, that's a
Mm-hmm.
long time.
Mm-hmm.
I loved that she fell in love with that record executive and they moved to Zurich and they have this beautiful life together right now. It took them 27 years to get married.
What's the point?
I was just about to ask you after, because they fell in love when she was like in her 50s. And so if we've been living together for like nearly 30 years, have a house, have a family and all of that, why bother?
Yeah, I
It's
just to say
it's
you did
not
it, I
it's not for
guess.
tax purposes at this point because you guys don't need any breaks or whatever.
Hmm.
Maybe it's just so that at the end of my life I can say that he was mine and I was his, in a legal term.
Yeah, maybe so that this everything goes to him.
And I doubt everything will go to him because she seems like she loves her kids, so her kids are going to be taken care of.
I know, but so then if the will's contested, he's like the default person,
And he doesn't need her money anyways because he
He
already
had
had money.
money. Yeah, I'm happy for her.
I am. It was really cute watching the scene when she was at the premiere of her Broadway show.
Yeah,
I wish I got to watch it, but hey, Corona happened. Hopefully, they will revive it once things go back to normal.
hopefully. I think it was doing good.
Because I would definitely go watch that story again.
Remember, I saw that thing that said that she was sick.
Yeah, you told me about it that she has a few illnesses, like life threatening, but I don't know exactly what they are, and she never talked about it in her documentary.
I'm
So,
trying to look it up now.
one of my favorite songs of Tina has to be "Private Dancer." I just love that song, and "River Deep Mountain High" is obviously a favorite of mine as well. Those are like some of the songs. As a matter of fact, I play a lot of Tina Turner in the shower. Like that's my go-to shower songs. Or if I'm working out, it just gets me in like a blood pumping mood. So yeah, I'm kind of just talking and talking to give him time to look up what type of sickness Tina Turner has.
she had in 2016 she had cancer. Um,
Seems like she beat it.
yeah, in her intestine, the doctors removed the cancerous section of her colon. In 2017, her high blood pressure led to kidney failure, and he donated one of his kidneys.
Wow.
Um,
If you have someone that donates a kidney to you, like that's love. George Lopez's ex-wife donated a kidney and he left her still, so I don't know.
God. Remember at the end of the documentary, it was dedicated to her son.
Yeah, yeah
He committed suicide in 2019.
I remember that story.
She believes the loneliness killed him.
That's really sad.
That is really sad.
There was another person that was, there's a memorial for someone else in the documentary, but I don't know who that person was.
Rhonda.
Who's Rhonda?
Maybe I should look it up.
Well, while he looks up Rhonda, I will talk about one of my favorite actresses who played Tina Turner in that 1993 biopic, Miss Angela Bassett. She was a part of the documentary as well. She didn't say much apart from like, you know, Tina Turner. They didn't have any, her and the Ikettes. They didn't have anyone doing their makeup and stuff like that, and just like little tidbits here and there. It was cute to see her a part of the documentary. Oprah was also a part of the documentary. I mean, Oprah and Tina, they're like really good friends right now. She's been on the Oprah Winfrey Show. Oprah has been to her wedding. Oprah came to the premiere of her Broadway show. I didn't see a lot of clips of Oprah. I was told they showed a clip of her, but each time they did, for some reason, my head was down. And so I didn't really see her. I only heard her voice in the documentary.
She spoke like 2 or 3 times, same as Angela Bassett, just like here and there.
Yeah.
Rhonda was Tina's assistant and friend.
Okay. Okay. Well, those are the documentaries we watched over the past weekend, and we really enjoyed them. It gave us a huge insight on these superstars' lives. One was like coming from a broken home and had a lot of domestic violence.
They both were.
Okay, so I know Demi had, she came from a broken home. Her dad was involved in substance abuse. I didn't know she was, domestic violence was a part of her childhood for Demi. That I did not know.
With the mom.
Oh, so
I don't think he hit the kids, but he hit the mom.
okay. Well, it's the same story over and over again.
Yeah.
Let's hope we can learn from it, and if it's something that we're going through in our own families, we can address it and try to like fix that shit or walk away from it if you have to. Thank you guys so much for listening. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe on whatever you are listening to us on, whatever platform. We love you, and bye.